It was Steve Jobs who said everything around you that you call life was made up by people that were no smarter than you. And you can change it. You can influence it. You can build your own things that other people can use. And what Steve Jobs was saying here is that when you think about the modern world that we live in today, all the products and services that we use, all the modern conveniences that we have, and all the creature comforts and things that make our life so much easier, were designed by people that were no smarter than you or I. So, what does that mean? That means that all of you watching this have the genius and the ideas and the talent and skills necessary to be able to start a great business and understand the nature of what makes a business work and thrive and survive in any economic environment. And this should be exciting because launching a startup or starting a business is one of the most fun and adventurous experiences that you're going to have in your life. And that's why so many people right now are starting their own businesses, because they want to have the financial freedom and flexibility to live life on their terms and help others in the process. The problem is that many of us, unfortunately, fail when it comes to starting a business, and we see the failure rates with startups are very high because, unfortunately, there's a lot of bad advice out there when it comes to starting a business, and unfortunately, that really causes people to make some very bad decisions that leads them to failure. And again, that's why we see so many startups fail within just the first few years of operation. So, hi, my name is Frank Nunez with Teachable University, and in this lecture today, we're going to answer the question as to how a business really works and go over some concepts and ideas that I think really help you understand how a business works, and more importantly, how you can use those concepts to help you launch your own business. So I want you to think about all the products and services that you've used or you use consistently on a daily basis, whether it's that Starbucks coffee you drink, the iPhone or MacBook or iPad that you use, or the car that you drive, or the restaurant that you just visited recently. You think about all the products and services that you use on a daily basis. They were all designed with the consumer in mind, or more specifically, they were designed so that to alleviate a particular problem or make our lives easier, better, more efficient, and also entertain us and just make our lives better as a whole. And that's what the best entrepreneurs and businesses do, is that they focus on the customer first, then they develop the product or service around the customer in mind. And really then what that means for you as an entrepreneur is that you're not just really in the product development business, you are in the problem solving business. So what that means then is that your main objective as an entrepreneur is to solve problems that are impacting consumers and society. If you can get very good at solving problems based on your skills and abilities and passions, no matter what product or service you design to solve those problems, you'll be very successful as an entrepreneur. The problem is for many entrepreneurs, and I love this image, the problem for many entrepreneurs is that they develop the product and service first without really focusing on the consumer in mind. And as a result, you end up like being this entrepreneur here screaming at the heavens because you developed this product or service, you spent all this money and time on it, and no one is buying it. You're not making any money, you're not profitable, and as a result, you go broke and your business flops, just like so many startups, and they make this same mistake. And a very good example of this is the Segway. And for those of you who don't remember what the Segway is, the Segway, and actually I love this video too, or image, this is Jeff Bezos. I came across this doing research on the Segway. But the Segway was basically this two-wheeled, overly elaborate, very heavy and clunky scooter. And this came out in around 2001, and the Segway was meant to revolutionize transportation. It was supposed to be bigger than the internet. It was going to revolutionize the way we commuted and transported ourselves through major cities. It was going to be a game changer. But unfortunately, the Segway ended up flopping. And it actually, I think, folded in 2020, just a few years ago. The Segway ultimately just failed miserably. And the reason for that was ultimately because they did not focus on the consumer. And there were a number of reasons why the Segway failed. One was that it was too heavy and bulky, as I mentioned before. It was not as efficient as electronic scooters. The battery life just wasn't as great. It was too heavy, and e-scooters were a lot lighter and less expensive. But also, just pedestrians found no use for them in spaces like shopping malls and sidewalks, which ironically was exactly what the Segway was designed for. It was designed for these sort of environments and spaces, but pedestrians just found no use for them because they were just too big and just not very practical. Also, the Segway was just too costly. To buy a Segway could cost anywhere between $4,000 to $7,000. So, consumers just thought that was just way too expensive and not practical. And also, they were dangerous in that they had a very large battery, and because they were very heavy, they just were not very efficient, especially for older folks and seniors. And actually, I recall an image or photo of then President Bush, who was using a Segway. He actually fell off the Segway, and actually it made news at the time when he was using the Segway, and that's kind of, it really didn't help with the marketing of Segway. But in any case, it just wasn't very practical to use, and because ultimately, as I said before, Segway, just the makers of Segway, did not consider the consumer before designing this product. So ultimately, the best businesses and how they function and work and survive and thrive is that they developed a business around the consumer's needs. So when you consider the consumer first and then developing a product or service around that need, you can increase the probability or chances of having a very successful business. So how a business works and survives and thrives in any economic environment is that they develop allies and relationships. And the best businesses, especially when they first start off, are able to develop relationships with consumers, with vendors, and even with competitors so that they can grow their business even during lean times where maybe they're not as profitable and they don't have as much capital and revenue isn't coming in. So developing allies and relationships are very important, especially when you're starting out. But another issue that a lot of entrepreneurs have, especially like recent college grads, is that they have an idea for a business. Maybe they know what problem they want to solve in a product or service that can alleviate that problem, but they don't have the cash or capital to launch this business. So what's common with a lot of entrepreneurs and what they do is that they'll go pitch to investors. They'll do pitch competitions, and they'll make elaborate PowerPoints and slides, and they'll go up there and pitch to their heart's content to all these investors. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't do this. I think this is a great practice that I recommend because you want to get in front of investors. You want to get in the habit of learning how to sell your idea to investors and people that can help you along the way as your business grows. But the problem is with a lot of investors is that they want a sure thing. More often than not, they're not going to invest in a business that doesn't have a track record of revenues and sales. They want a sure thing. They don't want to take on that risk, especially if we're in a recession or an economic downturn. Investors are going to be much more cautious to invest in you. That's not to say that they won't invest in your business if you really just have an idea or some sort of business plan that maybe can catch their eye. But for the most part, they'll be reluctant to invest in a startup that doesn't have any sort of infrastructure or sales. They want a sure thing. So that's really the dilemma that a lot of entrepreneurs have, is a chicken and the egg approach where, investors want a company that is already generating sales and is already profitable, but you need money in order to start your business so that you can be profitable. So that's sort of the issue that a lot of entrepreneurs have. But there's ways around this. And the reason is that now today, with a laptop and a mobile phone, you can make digital products and services for very little to no money and share it with tens of millions of people or more. Just a very good example is this YouTube lecture that I'm making. It cost me no money to make, but it's a digital product that I made for you, which is designed to help you understand how a business works, how it functions, and how you too can use some of these ideas I've shared with you in this lecture that you can use to start your own business. So it's a digital product that I made that I'm sharing with millions of people with the hopes of making an impact and also generating commerce and business for my own business as well. But if you decide to start a product or physical product or service, you don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel. What you can do is you can work or purchase a already functioning business that you would, in a field or industry that you would like to participate in. Okay, so as I said before, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but what you can do is you can already purchase or be a part owner of an established business that already has customers and revenue and infrastructure in place. And by doing that, it'll be much easier to attract investors because you already have a physical business with customers already in place that are buying your products and services. And this just makes your job that much easier and increases the probability of success. So by starting a business from scratch, it's just that much harder and increases the chances of failing. We don't want to do that. We want to put ourselves in a position where we can success, and we do that by taking part in a business that is already successful, it already has customers, it already has products and services that it's selling to consumers. And this just makes your life so much easier. And when you develop allies, when you know what problem you want to solve, when you know what product or service you would like to develop or industry you want to participate in, and understand that some of these dynamics that I've discussed, it's just going to make the process of starting a business much more tangible and real for you, because now you don't have to, as I said before, and this is a common theme that I'm saying here, is reinvent the wheel or really just start totally by yourself or from scratch. You already are using institutions and infrastructure and people and relationships and resources available to you to start this business with at a fraction of the cost, which I think is really most important here, is that it's trying to cut our costs and maximize profit. And this profit seems to be a very negative word for some reason, but you need to make a profit in order to be able to stay in business and attract investors and other entrepreneurs that you want to work with, so that you can grow your business and help your community. So I want to close this lecture with a quote from Austin Kleon, who said, "Every new idea is just a mashup or a remix of one or more previous ideas." So this can apply to so many different fields in entrepreneurship, or whether you want to start a business, you want to write a book, you want to create music or art or whatever that is that you want to do. Every new idea is just a mashup or remix of one or more previous ideas. The best products or services that have ever been made were built from the previous products and services of the past. That products and services build on each other, and it's just taking what already exists and making it better. So this should be a tremendous relief for you, because what that means is you don't have to create this radically original business idea. You can take what's already out there. There's already great businesses that need help in their operations and product design and solving problems. Or you can start a business with little to no money down or no costs or money that you have to spend to start the business. You can create digital products or services that can really make an impact, and you can share with the world and build on that and use the ideas that already exist and make it your own. And this is incredibly exciting, because this means that all the resources are out there available to you to start a great business or create art or whatever it is that you wish to accomplish. And all the best businesses out there, they're able to function this way, where they take what already exists and are able to solve problems by using the resources already available to them. So I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can watch all my videos and lectures on entrepreneurship, creativity, personal growth, and wealth building. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.